24-hour business plan.
Welcome to the 24-hour business plan podcast channel. Now, in this episode, we're going to talk about culture and values. And to be honest, you can't catch culture. It's like chimney smoke. You can't quite grab hold of it. And people are always asking us, how do I manage my culture better? How do I understand the role culture plays in a business plan? So culture is a pretty broad concept. The best and simplest management model I've seen is that culture is how you live out as an organization your values and your vision. Now, your vision should be something that you can achieve as a team. It's something that you all strive for, to be the number one in the market. It also should be a financial metric that goes as part of it. To double our business in 2 years. So to be the number one in the market, doubling our business within 3 years. So that's the vision part. The values are about what we value in our team members, and the culture sits in the middle of that. It's how we live out those values and that vision. And culture is made up of three really important areas. The first one is the simple one that everyone thinks is actually culture, which is behaviors. How should we behave? If that's our vision and these are our values, what behaviors do we expect? If one of your values is we value people who are quick on their feet and agile, then we expect they should behave relatively quickly, make quick decisions, all of those sorts of things. So the behaviors piece is well understood. How well managed it is in an organization is up for grabs, because we all know that there's some behaviors that we shouldn't accept if they're our values and our vision, and you shouldn't walk past some of those bad behaviors. You've got to nip those in the bud, but clearly articulating them as part of a plan is really, really important. The two other areas of culture that affect culture significantly but aren't well known, one is systems and processes. Because if you don't have systems and processes that match your values and your vision, for example, back to we value people who are agile and quick on their feet. If your systems and processes require 5 layers of approval and they're all done on spreadsheets instead of in some very automated way, people are never going to believe that you truly value agility. So you've got to be really careful. You've got to actually think through what systems and processes do we have and what systems and processes might we want to look at going forward to help support our values and our vision. The last part of culture that you need to be thinking about that will sound obvious when I talk about it, but again, often not understood that it plays such a significant role in culture, is symbolism. And by that I mean, what are the visual things that remind you every day in an office of whether they match up to your values and your vision? For example, you might have your values, you might value people who are collaborative and team players. And you go, great, that sounds really good. I really do want to value people who are team players and collaborative. But if you don't have any collaborative spaces in your office for them to collaborate in, then that's not very symbolic of you trying to support team players in collaboration. If the management team sit on a different floor to the rest of the team, that shows that the management team's not being team players either. And that can have a big effect, because what happens with symbolism is people will see the management team disappear upstairs every day, and then they'll go and have a coffee in the kitchen and they go, can you believe they're still banging on about team players and collaboration, and they never collaborate because they just go and disappear upstairs and do their own thing every day. So sometimes it could be something that sits on some your computer every day and flashes up on the screen. It might be that you might value people who are transparent and open and honest, but on your computer, when you open up your shared drives, all of a sudden there's lines through all the different files that you can't access. That's not very symbolic of a company that really truly believes in transparency. And I think Atlassian have got some great examples there where they pretty much share all information from what I've read about, and except for obviously things like payroll. But they really believe that if you're truly going to value that open and honesty and transparent nature of a company, and you want to move quite fast, then give them access to everything they possibly can have. So super, super important to understand the role that not just behaviors plays in culture, but understanding the role that your systems and processes play in supporting or going against your culture that you're trying to achieve. And also that symbolism, really important to think through what are those visual cues that the team see every day that might be helping with culture or might be affecting it. The other question we get asked about is, should they be the values be a company's values, or should they be people values? Now, if you actually think about the word values, it's actually what we value in our people. That's a true value. A company can't have values. Values is all about people. So in our model, we always have our values put across the bottom of our one-page strategy, because we say what we value in our team members, which should support our whole strategy. So it should underpin your strategy. So try and personalize or personify your values. And then the other thing we talk about with values is make sure, again, they're easy to understand. Because if you write them in 3 different grammatical ways, people won't remember them. You need to say what we value in our team members is people who are agile, people who are honest, people who are collaborative. Or you might say, you might just use a slightly different grammar. We might say we value people with agility, or with compassion, or with honesty and integrity. So just making sure that they all match up. It sounds such a simple little thing to do, but often we go, "Oh, that's great." Passion that's such a great value. But then you can't say it in as simple a way. You might need to say passionate, not passion, just to make sure that all the values align grammatically and are really easy for the team to understand. The other piece is don't have too many. I mean, if Apple can only have 3 values of what they value in their team members, which is one of them's creativity, one of them's humanity. They've got some great values when you go and look them up. You want to just make sure that they're really easily understood. Companies often, particularly companies who merge, might end up having 6 values, and no one's ever going to remember 6 values. You want to bring them to life. You want what we value in our team members to be simple and understood, and everyone to be able to go, you know what? That truly does personify what we mean about our value. If some companies have some cool words like, we value people who are brave, have the hard conversations. And then when someone's had a good conversation, either internally or externally, you can call that out in a shout out and say, you know what, that is absolutely what we mean by why we value bravery in our organization. So culture, you can't quite catch it, bit like chimney smoke, but you can unpack it, and you can think about it in the sense of how you live out your values and your vision, what those behaviors look like, the symbolism, and also what those systems and processes are, and just make sure those values are what we value in our team members. Really important. It'll all tie back to your strategy really simply if you do that. Thanks again for listening.
24-hour business plan.